Hello, my dear friends. If you enjoy this story, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support, and now let's begin.
On his wedding day, a man should keep track of at least three things. The rings. The amount of bourbon in his bloodstream. And where his bride is looking when she thinks he will not notice. I handled the first two more or less successfully. The rings were in the inside pocket of my jacket, and my best man checked them every 10 minutes with the expression of a customs officer who believed I was a known pickpocket planning to steal my own jewelry. The bourbon was more complicated. Melanie's father poured me a glass before the ceremony and said it was not alcohol but liquid support for family values. He was completely serious. At 10 in the morning, older men apparently gain a special right to say nonsense with the dignity of a senator. My name is Nathan Walker. I was 35, and that day I married Melanie, the woman who had made me stop keeping one foot near the exit. Before her, I changed apartments, plans, jobs, and cars without much trouble. With Melanie, everything became calmer. Not duller. Calmer. We lived in an old brick house near Washington Park in Denver. At night, the pipes groaned inside the walls as if a whale had become trapped there and was tired of paying the mortgage. Melanie worked as an interior designer. She could spend 40 minutes discussing the difference between smoky gray and gray with a cool undertone. To me, both looked like concrete after rain. I ran a small heating and ventilation company. My job was to keep people from freezing in winter, melting in summer, and calling in between to ask why the new filter cost more than the old one. Melanie and I had been together for 4 years. We argued about money, dishes, and the armchair where my clothes seemed to reproduce on their own. But we knew how to make peace without long speeches. Sometimes she placed a cup of coffee beside me. Sometimes I quietly filled her gas tank. In ordinary life, love often looks exactly like that. Not like music playing in the rain. Like a full tank on Monday morning. We held the wedding at a country hotel west of Denver. A wooden hall, mountains on the horizon, strings of lights under the ceiling, and so many dried flowers that I kept looking for a fire extinguisher. Melanie was calm. Not the kind of calm bride who smiles while mentally strangling the coordinator with a microphone cable. She genuinely looked happy. When she walked toward me, I looked only at her. At least for the first few seconds. Then I noticed my brother. Adam stood in the last row. He had arrived that morning, almost right before the ceremony. We had not seen each other for about 9 months. For the past few years, he had worked in Alaska, managing construction projects near Anchorage, and appeared in Colorado so rarely that Denver seemed to be not in a neighboring time zone but beyond the Arctic Circle on a secret military base. Adam was 2 years older than me. We looked alike around the eyes and jawline. But Adam was taller, broader through the shoulders, and had an irritating habit of looking at people as if he already understood them better than they understood themselves. Women called it depth. I knew that sometimes he simply could not think of anything to say. Melanie reached the altar. I took her hands. She looked at me. Then, for a second, her eyes shifted somewhere behind my shoulder. I turned. Adam stood there. He was not smiling. Melanie immediately looked back at me. 1 second. Maybe less. I told myself that people look at people they know. That is normal. They had known each other before Melanie and I started dating. As far as I knew, they had crossed paths through mutual friends. Melanie once mentioned that Adam had helped organize a charity hike in which one of her friends took part. That was all I remembered. Maybe because I never asked further. During the ceremony, I did not think about it again. We exchanged rings. I recited vows I had spent 3 weeks writing and then, for some reason, added a promise to always check the expiration date on the milk. Melanie laughed. The guests did too. Even Adam smiled. Dinner began after the ceremony. Candles flickered inside glass holders. Waiters carried around tiny plates of food, as though the restaurant suspected us of collective overeating. Adam sat across the table, a little to the right. Aunt Carol was seated beside him. Within 20 minutes, she had asked why he was not married, how much he made in Alaska, and whether he had met a sturdy northern woman up there. I watched his suffering with the pleasure of a younger brother. Then Melanie raised her head. Adam was looking at her. This time, I saw everything. There was no smile. No secret signal. Just two people holding each other's gaze longer than necessary. It was the way people sometimes look at a house where they once lived. They do not necessarily want to return. But they remember which stair used to creak. Melanie looked away first. She picked up her wineglass even though it was empty. Adam immediately turned to Aunt Carol and asked something about her trip to Florida. He did it too quickly. As if national security depended on a retirement cruise. I leaned toward Melanie. Everything okay? Of course. You look like you saw a ghost. A ghost would be paler than your Uncle Ron. I looked at Uncle Ron. He really did look as though he had spent 3 days in a refrigerator beside the celery. I laughed. Melanie kissed my cheek. The moment passed. Or hid. After dinner, Adam gave a toast. He stood, holding his glass in both hands. Nathan has always been the kind of person who jumps first and checks whether there is water below afterward. The guests laughed. So did I. When he told me about Melanie, for the first time I thought that maybe he had finally made the right jump. I smiled. Melanie rested her hand on my knee. I'm happy for both of you, Adam continued. Then he paused. Briefly. But I felt it. Sometimes the right person enters your life before you are ready to see them. He looked at me. Then at Melanie. Take care of what you chose. Everyone applauded. So did I. Wedding toasts often sound strange. Later, the dancing began. Melanie pressed close to me. I could feel her breath against my neck. Did you like Adam's toast? I asked. Her body tensed almost imperceptibly. Yes. Did he practice in front of a mirror, or was he born with the face of a man who speaks in riddles beside a campfire? She smiled. Probably Alaska. Not many people there. Plenty of time to invent heavy sentences. Nathan. What? This is our wedding. I noticed. Then stop analyzing everyone around us. I'm not analyzing anyone. That was a lie. A man can think about absolutely nothing until a woman says, don't think about it. After that sentence, even the mashed potatoes in his head put on glasses and begin an investigation. Before leaving, Adam hugged me. Too tightly. Be happy, he said. That's the plan. I mean it. I usually get married as a joke. He did not laugh. Then he hugged Melanie. She did not press herself against him. But she did not pull away immediately either. His hand rested on her back. Her eyes were closed. 1 second. Maybe 2. I stood nearby feeling like a man who had walked into a movie halfway through and was now pretending to understand the plot. Have a good trip, Adam said. Thank you for coming, Melanie replied. Not, it was good to see you. Specifically, thank you for coming. On Monday, we left for Aspen. We drove. Melanie took off her shoes, put her feet on the dashboard, and controlled the music from her phone. She sang along to old songs, got the lyrics wrong, and insisted the songwriters had simply chosen an inferior version of the words. I watched her and almost convinced myself that I had imagined everything. People look at one another. People hug. People give strange toasts. Not every glance opens a secret door. The hotel stood away from downtown Aspen. An old building of wood and stone, with a balcony, a fireplace, and a bed the size of a small runway. That evening, we had dinner by the river. Melanie told me about clients who wanted a living room designed in the style of wealthy silence. I asked what that meant. She said nobody knew, but rich people liked paying for a confident nod. We laughed. Then we returned to the hotel, drank champagne, and lay by the fire for a long time. Melanie was warm, relaxed, mine. I ran my hand through her hair and felt like an idiot for being suspicious. The next day, we hiked to a small lake. By noon, it began to snow. Melanie tried catching snowflakes on her tongue, slipped, and grabbed me. We both fell into a snowbank. I hit my thigh against a rock. She asked whether I was all right. I said yes. On a honeymoon, a man is not allowed to complain about a bruise unless the bone is sticking out and waving at passers-by. That evening, Melanie went to take a shower. I sat by the window with ice pressed to my thigh. My phone vibrated. Adam. A voice message. I pressed play. At first, there was only the sound of wind. Then my brother's voice. I don't know why I'm recording this. A pause. Probably because writing it is harder. Another pause. I'm glad she chose you. My hands went cold. Not, I'm happy for you. She chose you. Adam continued. You're better for her than I ever would have been. I stopped breathing. Just don't ask me to pretend it doesn't hurt at all. The message ended. I stared at the screen. There was nothing in my head. White emptiness. As if someone had turned off all sound in the world. A few seconds later, a text arrived. Sorry. That wasn't meant for you. Delete it. I read it several times. Then played the recording again. The second time was worse. The third was worse still. People seem to think that if they keep touching pain with their tongue, it will become easier to understand. It does not. It simply gets used to you. Water ran in the bathroom. Melanie was humming. I sat there in a robe, with an ice pack against my thigh, listening to my brother confess his love for my wife. I must have looked magnificent. Like a Roman emperor after falling down the stairs. I wrote. Who was it meant for? No answer. For her. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then. No. I laughed quietly. It was the most useless no in the history of written language. Who, then? He did not answer. The shower stopped. I cleared the conversation from the screen but did not delete the voice message. I do not know why. Maybe I wanted proof. Proof of what? That my brother was in pain. That my wife had made a choice. That I was the only person nobody had bothered to explain the rules to. Melanie came out wearing a white robe. Her hair was wet, her cheeks flushed from the hot water. Does your thigh still hurt? A little. She took the ice pack and looked at the bruise. Beautiful. I worked hard on it. She kissed me. I smelled her shampoo. Melanie noticed how still I was. What happened? I could have asked directly. 1 sentence. Were you in love with my brother? But I did not ask. I was not afraid of the answer. I was afraid of how quickly it might come. I'm just tired, I said. She nodded. Then let's go to sleep. I barely slept. Melanie lay with her back to me. I looked at her shoulder and remembered the wedding. The glance at the altar. The toast. The embrace. Take care of what you chose. Some sentences become wise only after they make you want to punch the person who said them. In the morning, we had breakfast on the terrace. Melanie ate avocado toast. I drank coffee and tried to look normal. "How long have you known Adam?" I asked. She looked up. "What?" I was just wondering. 8 or 9 years. Something inside me tightened. We had been together for 4. You said you knew each other through friends. We did. A few times. She put down her fork. "Nathan, where is this going?" "Nowhere. You're asking questions like a cop who already found the body." "There is no body." "That's reassuring." I smiled. She did not. "Were you friends?" "For a while." "Close?" "Not especially." "Too fast." Or so it seemed to me. Once you begin to suspect someone, every speed of response becomes evidence. Answer immediately, rehearsed. Think too long, lying. Sigh, guilty. Scratch your nose, international criminal. "Did you date?" Her face changed. "Only a little." "But I saw it." "No. Never." "Nathan. It's a simple question." "Then why does it sound like an accusation?" I drank my coffee. It was hot and bitter. An appropriate beverage for my new personality. It seemed like the two of you were looking at each other strangely at the wedding. Melanie looked toward the mountains. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. He wasn't looking at you like someone he simply hadn't seen in a while. How was he looking? Like a man who found his old dog living with a new owner. She snapped her eyes back to me. "I'm not a dog." Bad comparison. Terrible. But understandable. We fell silent. At the next table, an older couple argued about waffle syrup. I envied their problems. "Are you jealous of Adam?" Melanie asked. I wanted to say no. A good answer. A calm answer. Instead I said, "I don't know." She leaned back in her chair. "You never asked about him before. He never looked at you at our wedding like he was attending his own funeral before." Melanie went pale. I knew I had struck close to something. But she said, "You imagined it." That was what frightened me. She did not laugh. She did not look surprised. She did not ask what nonsense I was talking about. She said exactly what people say when they are afraid someone has seen too much. That evening, Melanie went to sleep early. I stepped onto the balcony and called Adam. He answered after the 6th ring. "Hi. Hi. You got the message." "Hard not to." He was silent. "Who was it meant for?" "No one." "You recorded a voice message to no one?" "I was drunk." "You barely drink." I started. "Congratulations on the new hobby." "Nathan. Do you love my wife?" Snow fell beyond the balcony. I could hear him breathing. "It doesn't matter." Excellent answer. "She married you." I was there. "Then leave it alone. You send me a message about how much it hurts, then tell me to leave it alone." I sent it by mistake. "You accidentally confessed that you love my wife." I never said I loved her. You said it in the words of a man too proud to use the correct verb. He went silent again. "Was there something between you?" "No." "Did she love you?" Adam exhaled heavily. "Ask her." I closed my eyes. "So yes." I didn't say that. Your silence usually does half the work for you. Don't ruin your honeymoon over the past. My past isn't in it. That is exactly why you don't need to touch it. Anger rose inside me. You came to my wedding, looked at my wife like I had stolen your life, sent that message, and now you're giving me a lecture about staying calm. I don't think you stole anything. Then what does, "I'm glad she chose you," mean? Adam did not answer immediately. It means exactly that. She had a choice between us. There is always a choice. Don't talk like a cheap calendar with a waterfall on it. I don't know what you want to hear. The truth. The truth is that she's with you. But was she with you? No. Did she want to be? A pause. Good night, Nathan. He hung up. When I returned, Melanie was sitting on the bed with her knees pulled to her chest. Were you talking to Adam? Apparently, I had been louder than I thought. Yes. Why? He sent me a message. Her face froze. What message? I played the recording. She listened without moving. When his voice stopped, the room became too quiet. He should not have sent that, she said. I'm developing an allergy to obvious statements. She stood and went to the window. It's complicated. No. Nathan. The question is simple. I stood too. Were you in love with my brother? She faced away from me. Yes. One word. Calm. As if I had asked what day it was. When? Before you. How long ago? About 7 years. How long did it last? A few years. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Sometimes the body makes the wrong sound, like a broken toy. A few years. I was never with him. But you loved him. Yes. And him? She was silent. Melanie. I didn't know. Until the wedding. Her shoulders moved. I understood before she turned. He told you. Nathan. When? Friday. The day before the wedding. Yes. I had to brace myself against the table. There was not enough air in the room, although ventilation had been my profession my entire adult life. Irony sometimes wears heavy boots. What exactly did he say? Does it matter? Right now, even which hand he held his coffee in matters. She covered her face. We met in the lobby. By accident? Yes. I said nothing. He asked if I was happy. And you? I told him I was. Then? He said he was glad. And then confessed. Not directly. Family tradition. Melanie looked at me in pain. He said he had been afraid all those years ago. Of what? That he could not give me a normal life. What a sacrifice. Nathan, don't. He decided you needed a normal life, disappeared, then came back before the wedding to announce that he had secretly been a noble idiot the whole time. More or less. And what did you feel? She looked away. Tell me. Everything turned upside down. Did you want to cancel the wedding? No. Too fast. But maybe by then I could no longer receive any answer calmly. Did you think about it? Everyone wonders before a wedding whether they are doing the right thing. Not everyone receives a confession from the groom's brother. I did not ask him to say it. But you heard it. Yes. And you came to me. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because I did not want to destroy our wedding over words that arrived several years too late. You decided I did not need to know. I decided it should not control our lives. You decided for me. She flinched. Maybe she saw the resemblance. Adam had once decided for her. She had decided for me. Apparently, our family had a secret committee convinced Nathan could not survive the truth without a helmet. Do you still love him? No. But you felt something. She closed her eyes. Yes. I nodded. Thank you. For what? For an honest answer. Finally. I love you. Right now, that sounds like the second half of a sentence. Look at me. I did not want to. But I did. Her eyes were wet. I was in love with Adam, she said. Very much. Wonderful beginning. Let me finish. I made a gesture with my hand. I was 23. He seemed like a man who knew where he was going. Then my mother died. He helped me with documents, the move, driving me to my father's. I waited for him to make a move. He didn't. Then he left. And you met me? Yes. Did you know I was his brother? Not at first. When did you find out? On our second date. And you continued? Yes. Why? She looked directly at me. Because I liked you. Or because I was the available version of Adam? No. We look alike. Only physically. Thank you. That helps enormously. You laughed where he stayed silent. You asked questions. You could admit when you were afraid. On our third date, you told me you once fainted at the sight of your own blood. I needed 12 stitches. You cut yourself on a can lid. It was aggressive. Melanie almost smiled. So did I. Then I immediately became angry with myself. You are not supposed to laugh in the middle of broken trust. Although maybe that is exactly where laughter is needed. Like an emergency light in a basement. I did not fall in love with you instead of him, she said. I fell in love with you after him. Then why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid you would hear only Adam's name. Apparently, you were right. There was never anything between us. No kiss. No night together. No confession until Friday. Did anything change on Friday? She hesitated. I hated her for the pause. But I had demanded honesty. Honesty rarely arrives well dressed. Usually it walks in wearing wet boots and asks where it can put its dirty bag. For a few minutes, yes, she said. I saw the life that might have been. I turned away. But I did not want it. Are you sure? I came to you. The whole room was waiting. The dress cost $4,000. That is not a reason to get married. I know. I could have left. I could have stopped the ceremony. But you didn't tell me the truth. She lowered her head. No. That was my fault. I picked up my jacket. Where are you going? For a walk. It's almost midnight. Aspen is not Detroit. At worst, I'll be attacked by a wealthy deer. She did not laugh. It was cold outside. I walked without direction until I reached a closed ski shop. A mannequin in $800 goggles stood in the window. It looked happier than I did. I sat on a bench. I wanted to be angry only at Adam. That would have been convenient. Brother, the traitor. Wife, the innocent victim of the past. Me, the wounded but dignified husband. A clean arrangement. 3 boxes with large labels. But Melanie had hidden the truth. And what hurt most was not that she had once loved Adam. People do not enter our lives brand new. Everyone has a past, other people's names, bad decisions, embarrassing photographs, and at least one sweater that should have been thrown away 10 years ago. What hurt was that she knew the truth before the wedding and let me say my vows without knowing that behind my back, my brother had recently confessed his love to her. I remembered the way she looked at him at the altar. She had not been looking because she wanted to leave. She was checking whether she was truly closing the door. But I did not know that. I was a happy idiot with a ring in his pocket. When I returned, Melanie sat by the fire. An unopened bottle of wine stood on the table. I thought you weren't coming back. My things are here. Very romantic. I ran out of good lines today. I sat across from her. Tell me everything. She did. Without polished pauses. Sometimes she jumped backward. Sometimes she said, "No, wait, that happened earlier." There was more truth in that than in a clean version. She had met Adam at a charity race in Boulder. She was 23. He was 30. After her mother died, he helped with documents and the move. They grew close. She waited. He stayed silent. Then he left for Montana. His messages became less frequent. A year later, she met me. Why did you never tell me he helped after your mother died? Because then I would have had to explain everything else. Were you ever going to tell me? I was going to. Favorite phrase of people who never did. She accepted that without arguing. I was afraid you would compare yourself to him. An amazingly accurate prediction. You always compared yourself to Adam. Because everyone else did too. I did not want to become one more person who made you feel second, Melanie said. So you hid the fact that you wanted the first one before me. She flinched. I regretted it immediately. The words were accurate. But accuracy does not make cruelty useful. I'm sorry. You have a right to be angry. A right to anger is not a right to say everything that comes into my head. She nodded. Okay. We sat in silence for a long time. Did you answer Adam on Friday? Yes. What did you say? That he was too late. That once I would have given anything to hear it. But now I love you. Did he ask if you were sure? Yes. The day before our wedding. Yes. And you? I said I was sure. Then why did he come? I asked him to. A new blow. You asked him to come. Yes. Why? I did not want his absence hanging over the wedding. He was hanging over it anyway. I know. You wanted to prove to yourself that you could choose me while he watched. She was silent for a long time. Maybe. Painful. But honest. Did it work? Yes. Then why were you looking at him? Because I was saying goodbye. She raised her eyes. Not to the man. To the life I once imagined beside him. It hurt, not because I wanted to leave, but because I realized how many years I had waited for words I no longer needed. Like a letter delivered to an address where you no longer live. Yes. It was a beautiful sentence. I wanted to hate it. But I understood. Understanding did not make it easier. The next day, we barely spoke. Our honeymoon became a business trip for two colleagues after an office conflict. We ate breakfast. Walked. Discussed the weather. I even suggested visiting a gallery. That was a worrying sign. Normally, after 10 minutes in a gallery, I start searching for a chair and suspect the fire extinguisher may also be an exhibit. That afternoon, I did something I am not proud of. I told Melanie that Adam was planning to come to Aspen. It was a lie. I wanted to see her reaction. I even invented details, saying he was nearby for work. Melanie went pale. Do you want him to come? Do you? No. Why? Because there is already too much of him between us. If he came, would you meet him? Only with you. Alone? No. Are you sure? She looked at me for several seconds. Then she understood. He isn't coming. I said nothing. You made it up. I wanted to see your reaction. She stood. You tested me. Yes. Like a child. I didn't know whether to believe you. And now you do. You said you don't want to see him. But you still won't believe me. She left. An hour later, I found her by the river. She sat on a rock wrapped in her coat. That was disgusting, I said. Yes. I'm not going to defend it. Good. But I was afraid. She looked at the water. So was I. Of what? That you would never again see me as the woman who chose you. Only as the woman who might have chosen someone else. I sat beside her. Adam was always there first. Learned everything first. Became the man our parents wanted me to be first. Now I find out he was in your life first too. But he left first, Melanie said. And I stayed. Yes. That is not very dramatic. Dramatic men are often poorly suited for an ordinary Tuesday. I gave a small laugh. Is that a compliment? A very big one. She took my hand. I did not pull away. I'm not promising to forget this in a day. I'm not asking you to. And I'm not promising not to ask stupid questions. You asked them before. Now I have a dramatic reason. Luxury. I looked at her. I want nobody deciding for me again what truth I can handle. Okay. Not you. Not Adam. Okay. Even when the truth is unpleasant. Especially then. That night, we talked for a long time. Not beautifully. Not in order. Sometimes we went in circles. Melanie cried. At one point, I went into the bathroom and sat on the closed toilet lid for 10 minutes. For some reason, family crises feel more honest there. In the morning, we did not pretend everything was fixed. But for the first time since the wedding, I felt that we had truly begun to be husband and wife. Not two people in beautiful clothes standing in front of guests. Two imperfect creatures who had learned an ugly truth and were still sitting at the same table. After we returned to Denver, I met Adam at the bar near his hotel. He arrived first. He sat with a cup of coffee. Of course, coffee. Even after confessing his love to his brother's wife, he looked like a man who had come to discuss a construction estimate. Melanie told me everything. He nodded. Good. No. Not good. But better than a lie. You could have told me yourself. It wasn't my story. You made it mine when you confessed to her before the wedding. He looked down at the table. I know. Why? Because I saw her. Powerful explanation. She was standing in the lobby. I realized that the next day it would end for good. So you decided to ease your conscience at our expense. He winced. Yes. I had not expected him to agree. I had a long speech prepared. Now it hung in my head like a coat with nowhere to wear it. Did you want her to leave me? Adam was silent for a long time. Part of me did. Heat rose inside me. And the other part? Knew it would destroy her. And me. By then, I didn't matter. How noble. I'm not proud of it. But you did it. Yes. Then you came to the wedding. She asked me to. You could have refused. I could have. Why did you come? He looked me in the eyes. I wanted to make sure she had truly chosen you. The old anger returned. You had no right to test her choice. I know. Or me. I know. Stop repeating that like you're taking an exam. He leaned back. For the first time, he did not look calm or strong. Just like a tired older brother who had made a stupid decision and could not repair it with the right sentence. I loved her, he said. Maybe I still do. But she chose you. I won't interfere again. You already interfered. I won't again. Why did you leave back then? I was afraid. Of what? Becoming like Dad. We fell silent. Our father was not a bad man. He provided for the family, rarely raised his voice, and never left. But he knew how to turn love into an obligation. Our mother gradually became quieter beside him. Adam saw it. So did I. You decided that if you disappeared, nobody would get hurt. Yes. That worked brilliantly. I noticed. You always thought you knew better what other people needed. He nodded. Maybe. You decided for Melanie. Then she decided for me. All because nobody wanted to have one unpleasant conversation at the right time. Sounds like our family. I almost laughed. I'm not forbidding you from seeing us. That isn't my role. But keep your distance. I understand. And never talk to her about your feelings again. I won't. Even if it hurts. Yes. I leaned closer. You may have loved her before me. You may remember her. But never again decide for us what we should know and what we shouldn't. Okay. We did not hug. In movies, after conversations like that, brothers slap each other on the back and order whiskey. In real life, we simply sat there for a few more minutes. Then Adam paid for the coffee. I let him. I considered it the first installment on his moral debt. A month later, he returned to Alaska. Melanie and I continued living in the house near the park. The pipes still groaned. Clothes still grew on the armchair. Sometimes I woke up remembering the way she looked at Adam during the wedding. Sometimes I wondered what would have happened if he had confessed 7 years earlier. Maybe they would have been together. Maybe they would have divorced after 2 years. Maybe I would never have met Melanie. The past is convenient because you can build any life inside it. Nobody asks for evidence. The present is more stubborn. It demands breakfast, bills, conversations after arguments, and replacement filters for the ventilation system. 3 months later, the wedding photographs arrived. In one, Melanie was walking toward me. Adam stood behind the other guests. She was looking straight ahead. At me. I studied the photograph for a long time. Then I showed her. Beautiful, she said. Yes. Are you thinking about him again? A little. She took my hand. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. So am I. Do you believe I chose you? I looked at the photograph. Then at her. I do now. Why now? Because I used to think a choice was made once. At the altar. Apparently not. You choose me every day. Yes. Sometimes with irritation. Often with irritation. She smiled. And you choose me? Yes. Even after everything. I thought about it. Not for dramatic effect. I genuinely thought. Yes. But not because everything became easier afterward. Just because now I know what I'm choosing. She nodded. We did not become a perfect couple. Sometimes I still ask stupid questions. Sometimes Melanie became irritated. Once, I asked whether she had liked Adam's hands. She looked at me as if calculating whether it was legal to strangle a husband with a kitchen towel. Then she said, Nathan, bring home milk. I did. That ended the conversation. Maybe forgiveness looks like that. Not like a switch. More like an old heating system. At first, it rattles. Then it smells like dust. Sometimes it begins knocking again in the middle of the night. But if you do not abandon it and keep maintaining it, one day the house becomes warm. I still wonder whether I would have handled everything more easily if Melanie had told me before the wedding. I do not know. Maybe we would have postponed the ceremony. Maybe we would have married anyway. Maybe I would have disappeared for a day, eaten 3 cheeseburgers, and returned with a completely meaningless plan. But it would have been our choice. Not the choice of people who had decided for me what truth I could handle. And maybe that was what hurt longest. Not her old feelings. Not Adam's love. The fact that both of them believed silence was a form of care. Now, when Melanie and I argue, she sometimes asks, "Do you want the truth, or the version that helps you sleep?" I answer, "The truth." Then I usually add, "But maybe not all at once." She laughs. So do I. It is not a perfect ending. Very little in our life is perfect. But now, when the pipes begin groaning at night, I know the woman lying beside me had a past before me. And she knows I am sometimes still jealous of a man who lives several thousand miles away and drinks too much coffee. We do not pretend none of it exists. We simply get up in the morning, argue about coffee mugs, and keep going. Maybe that is what choosing someone really looks like. Not one beautiful step toward the altar. Many ordinary steps afterward. Could you forgive your wife if you learned that your brother had confessed his love to her the day before your wedding? And what would hurt more, her old feelings, or the fact that she chose to stay silent?